Hello everyone, this is Robert from Book of Mormon Editions, where we discuss printings, publications, and various editions of the Book of Mormon. I was recommended to review this edition right when I first started this video series. However, I've been a bit insecure to do so until now, but for good reasons. You'll see why in a minute. This is the Maxwell Institute Study Edition of the Book of Mormon, published in 2018. This is a soft cover book measuring 6 by 9 inches with navy blue front and gold titling. This is one of the most impressive, well-formatted, and well-organized editions I've seen, with a proper balance between academic and scriptural aspects. So some background on this one is that the Maxwell Institute of Religion is a department within Brigham Young University. In 2018, they issued this edition as a study edition, stating that it was independent of the Salt Lake Church, even though the text was used by permission and in cooperation with Deseret bookstores for distribution. Its editor is listed as Grant Hardy, with textual notes from Royal Skousen. You'll remember that Grant Hardy did a reader's edition of the Book of Mormon, and Royal Skousen is a scholar in linguistics who published an edition called The Earliest Text, Book of Mormon. These two gentlemen are powerhouses in Book of Mormon academics, and I feel a bit silly and inexperienced to review an edition of the Book of Mormon that they have both had influence over. So I'll make a best attempt today to review this Maxwell Institute study edition of the Book of Mormon. The beginning pages have a traditional introductions, specifically the Salt Lake introduction, the testimony of the witnesses, and Joseph's story of the coming forth of the Book of Mormon and the gold plates. In addition, there is a historical interview of Emma Smith as a widow after Joseph was martyred. In it, she tells her son some details regarding the coming forth of the gold plates and Joseph's personal capacity that required divine intervention to bring forth the Book of Mormon. Interestingly, this was an old RLDS source, but still valid here also. This edition also has a unique introduction that goes through some detail of the printing of the 1830 Book of Mormon, followed by what it took to produce the 1830 and 1840 editions of the Book of Mormon also. It also lists the source work from Royal Skousen regarding cross-comparing the original manuscript to the printer's manuscript and to the 1830s printed edition. The text of this edition is in novel form as a reader's edition. There are chapter breaks that are labeled with the current Salt Lake chapter numbers, as well as notes to where the 1830 chapter breaks were also. There are small numbers throughout the text signifying the Salt Lake text versing. However, they are small and don't seem to hinder a continuous reading. There are some formatting styles within the text. While most of the text is in paragraph form, some quoted scripture, such as the Isaiah chapters, are in poetic stanza format. There are footnotes at the bottom of the pages that assist in scholarly references, manuscript notes, and other details. Throughout the edition, specifically at the beginning of each book, there are woodcut artworks by a Utah artist, and the pictures placed within the edition are pretty impressive. After the text, there's about 50 pages of supplemental material that are pretty extensive. This includes maps of the Old World and John Sorensen's proposed map of the Book of Mormon geography. The indexes also include a breakdown of various plates used and record keepers mentioned within the Book of Mormon. This graphical layout helps explain who's who and where the words came from. Afterwards is a chronology of the Book of Mormon and key events of Joseph Smith's time. There is a section for general notes displaying letters and references regarding the Book of Mormon coming forth. This also includes quotes from others, included several of the Whitmer family and Joseph Smith's mother, Lucy. The last index is a section called General Notes. This gives sectional topics for the validity of the Book of Mormon. This includes coherence for the Book of Mormon and how the book was translated in a few months, which contained a significant number of factors that are evaluated here. There's also a section on chiasmus that's pretty thorough. Once again, this is all to express an admiration and validity for the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith. All in all, I'm really impressed with this edition of the Book of Mormon by the Maxwell Institute. With in-depth editions like this, I always feel a little inadequate when I make a review of this, as I know that there's a lot more of this than I can express in just a few minutes. However, I think this edition is well organized and formatted for both academic and scripture study. So that's the Book of Mormon by the Maxwell Institute within BYU. Thanks everyone for the feedback I've been getting. Feel free to comment down below if you have this edition, and subscribe to the series if you like what you've seen. If you have a special or unique edition of the Book of Mormon that you'd like reviewed on this series, please contact me at bomeditions@gmail.com. Thanks everyone.